Comic Book Savant, episode 338.
I know this. This I know. All that I have, all that is me, resides inside my poetry. And every time I write a rhyme, it might be the line that sets mine free. And also, I know that I don't...
Welcome to the Comic Book Savant podcast. I'm your host, James Harris. This week, we're going to change it up a little bit and do a discussion. The first topic that I wanted to do a discussion about is the state of the comic book industry. We talk so much about comics themselves, comic book related movies and TV shows on here, but I wanted to take time to pull back and look at the industry as a whole. Over the past couple of months, I've posted questions here and there, building up for this episode, and I wanted to get different thoughts and opinions from as many people as I could, poll from Facebook, Twitter as well, and just different places online through social media to get a wealth of knowledge from a lot of different people with a lot of different perspectives to, kind of touch on some of the major issues that are concerns that a lot of fans have voiced and concerns about the comic book industry, where at the state that it's currently in and where it might be trending in the future. But before I get into that, as always, I want to give a shout out to my friends over at the Comics Podcast Network, which you can find over at comicspodcast.com. It's a great place to go to find comic book related podcasts. Simply put, it's a good landing page. They've had a major redesign lately to the whole site. It's way more streamlined. It is literally hundreds of podcasts listed there. They have one thing that I like that they did on the redesign. They have links to all the websites, to all the participating podcasts, and they have links to their RSS feeds. So even if you don't see a recent episode posted from a particular creator that you like, but you see that they're a member, you can go to their site directly from that page. And literally, it's just a great resource. There's literally hundreds upon hundreds of podcasts listed there. And I've stated it before, you can find a podcast like myself, which is a one-man podcast, to roundtable type discussion podcast and so on and so forth. And it's just a great resource. So if you like this show and you want to find more like it, check out the Comics Podcast Network over at comicspodcast.com. And last but not least, I'd like to give a shout out to my sponsor, which is InStockTrades.com. If you're looking for any type of collected editions, omnibus, absolute editions, you name it, they have it. Definitely, if you have a moment, check out InStockTrades.com. If you're unfamiliar with the site, they have, when you check out the homepage of InStockTrades.com, they have deals of the week that change random days, I think. So I got busted a couple episodes ago, so I'm going to quit reading the homepage, because then when I released the episode, it wasn't matching up. So I'm going to stop doing that. But they have on the homepage deals of the week. They have anywhere from like 4 to 5 selected books each week that they do 50% discount on, which is great because it's over the additional savings. Normally their discounts range from around 35 to 42% off. With these deals of the week, you get all the way up to 50% off. If you're a U.S. customer and you order up to $50 or more, you get free shipping within the U.S. Unfortunately, if you happen to listen to this show and you order from them and you're outside of the United States, you still get all the great savings. You still get the 35 to 42, 50% off, but you just don't get that free shipping on the $50 orders or more. But they do have some of the cheapest and competitive international shipping rates around, so you still might be able to save quite a bit of money than maybe ordering something from somewhere else. So definitely, if you have a moment, check out InStockTrades.com. Let them know you heard about them here first at Comic Book Savant Podcast. I would greatly appreciate it. Also, before I get into the crux of the episode, I hope you guys are liking it. Like I said, you guys have been very supportive. I'm doing some different things. I'm really trying to elevate the show and get it out more. I promised you guys, last year that I was going to establish myself on social media more. I've been following through on that. Still have a lot to learn. I'm not as polished as some people with social media. I'm very active on on Facebook. If you want to follow me, it's James Harris. And you'll see it'll be captioned Comic Book Savant. So if you want to follow me on Facebook, you can do that. Then it's also a Comic Book Savant page, which is just facebook.com/Comic Book Savant. I've been getting mad likes from you guys that's stopping by, checking out the page, dropping a like. If you have a comment or episode suggestion, go to the Facebook page if that's easiest for you guys. Definitely if you follow me on Instagram, I'll post on there, and I will send it out to Facebook as well. So if you follow me on Instagram or you follow me on Facebook, you should be able to get all the social media I'm sending out. I think I copy it over to Twitter as well. I think for me, Instagram is more easier to get my head wrapped around and use it than Twitter was, because I just never could get Twitter down in my head and use it effectively. I love Instagram more because it's a picture medium, and we're dealing with the picture medium with comic books, so it just is a comfortable medium for me to deal with and get my head around with social media. So definitely, if you follow me in any of those places, it's updates, and don't feel intimidated to chime in. When I hear from you guys, it's the best feedback in the world, and I can kind of shape where to take the show and let and see what you guys are enjoying, and it can help me determine where I go with the show, going forward. I've promised for years about the YouTube channel. It is up and running now. I've actually put 2 videos, on the channel. I started with the Guardians review, the non-spoiler review a few weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, and then last week I did a companion piece to go with the writers, my top writers list of book recommendations. I put that on as well last week. I'm going to, at least right now, my goal is to do 1 video a week. Not all the time. There'll be accompanying, like a companion piece to the audio episode. When it fits, that's what I'll do. Other times it'll be just different content from what you're finding here. So if you want that, if you miss an episode, all the audio episodes also automatically post when I update them to the iTunes feed, or whatever podcatcher you get the show from. It goes up to the YouTube channel as well. But then now it'll be weekly, video content. Most cases you'll be seeing my face in the videos. First 2, I've made sure I was in front of the camera. Some of you guys have never seen me in person, so I felt like that was important for you guys to, you hear me on the audio to be able to see me on the video. It's so many different styles on YouTube. Some people, will do visuals, and then they narrate it, just, do a voiceover. I might do some videos like that, but I just thought it was important, and to help me, get in front of a camera, and like I said, just to let you guys actually see me compared to just hearing me, talk to a microphone, to actually have a visual concept of who and what I am. So I'm having fun doing that. And like I said, the objective at this point is to do a video a week. I've been releasing them. I normally release the episodes on Tuesday, afternoon evenings. What I'm going to try to do going forward is that, as far as releasing content, my aim is to keep the actual audio episodes released Tuesday evening. Then also the videos, my aim is to have them released on Wednesdays, and I'm doing some Patreon exclusive content as well. And I think I briefly explained what Patreon is, at the end of the last episode. Basically it just helps if you want to support the show and you financially can support the show. You can go to patreon.com, Comic Book Savant. If you subscribe to the podcast on Patreon, I'm going to do, if you contribute $1 or more a month. You get to sign up. It's just a monthly contribution. I'm going to do something exclusive for you guys. I've come up with a concept of doing basically like a 10 to 15 minute Patreon exclusive content where it'll be twice a month. Then I'm going to do it for right now at the dollar level. I have different rewards, built up for different tiers. But at least if you contribute $1 a month, it'll be twice a month where I will do an exclusive audio episode for the Patreons. It's just to give some value added if you help support the show in that way. Again, to help grow the show. I want to, get more equipment. I want to start hitting some conventions again. So it's a way that you can help support the show in a different way, but you actually get something, value added, for it. You don't have to support the show in that way if you don't choose to. Either way, I will still put up the content for those that want to support the show, but want some value for their contribution. You'll be able to get that there. You guys, like I said, anything that I've asked from you guys, in the past, you guys have supported. Like I said, the word of mouth of the show has continued to grow. The follows on Facebook, I'm getting more and more follows, daily on Instagram and on, I'm getting some more on Twitter. So, and don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. I know that's a battle because, I have to get noticed because I really hadn't put out much content yet. But, I'm trying to grow the show in different ways. You guys made me believe that, this is something to push and to elevate. So that is the mission going forward with Comic Book Savant. Because I've talked about it for years. And, I'm just to a point where it's time to put those things in motion, and I can't do it without you guys. So I appreciate the support so far, and anything else you can do going forward will only help grow the show more. So with all that out the way, because I wanted to get that off my chest so that I can focus on what we're going to talk about, which right now is the comic book industry. So here's some of the talking points that I thought about when I wanted to do this episode. Pricing, quantity, physical versus digital, movies, television, video games, and then round it off about what do we see the future of comics to be. So the first topic is pricing. And for most of us, and we've expressed this different places, that pricing is a big sticking point when it comes to the comic book industry right now. We've seen books, the prices of the books go up more and more. We've seen Marvel and DC with certain books that they kind of label premium be as much as $3.99 an issue or $4.99 in some cases if it's a double size issue. And it's been a big sticking point. And we've had DC and Marvel Comics double shipping their more popular titles with these increased cover prices, which has been a big problem. Also, we've seen a lack of price difference between the physical and digital issues. Now, I've talked about this before in different talks I've done about digital comics. We do know, I don't make any qualms about it. Because of for space reasons and so forth, I pretty much sold off all my physical comics. I still have certain ones that are sentimental to me, but I probably, own about less than 100 comics. And this is like loose issues, trades, anything like that I own. But physically I have like probably less than 100 now. When I had thousands, I pretty much ditched my whole collection and have went digital just because it was a space thing. It was it started taking over my house in my life. So I had to make a decision. But for me, it's digital all the way. So around the launch of the new 52 is kind of where physical ended for me, and it was a slow transition because I was still buying physical comics, but I transferred over to digital, and which I'm going to talk about more in detail later. But the lack of difference in pricing, that's definitely another big, a big issue. When the main two, and this is really talking towards DC and Marvel, is that they were inconsistent. When they first announced their digital initiatives, they were both very quick to say in their presentations of this that, a month after books were released, they would drop, $1 or 50% in price after the first month. that has it. DC was really good about it at first. After a month after the book was released, you saw the price drop. I think it would drop down $1, which would make it more desirable. For me, financially, my situations have fluctuated over the years. I don't, make what I, used to make for various reasons. So I don't have like I had, 5-10 years ago, $200, dollars a month just to blow on comics like I did, 10 years ago when I started the show. I don't have, and I have a family now, which is something I didn't have before. So I don't have that free money like that. So for me, when I can wait a month to read certain books, if I'm going to get it $1 cheaper and still enjoy it just the same. DC was very good about it when the launch of the New 52 came. Marvel was always kind of spotty on it, and they still are. But through digital, through places like Comixology and so forth, they would do Marvel Mondays where they always have some title on sale and you can get 99 cents an issue. So they did it, but that was only select books, and a lot of times they were made defunct series that maybe that a movie was coming out for, or they're launching a new TV show. Those would be the books they spotlighted, and they're stuff that you can get through other means, through like their Marvel Unlimited and things like that, which I'm going to talk about more a little bit later. But as far as with the original initiative, it was said, when a book came out a month later, it would drop. Like I said, Marvel had these other counterpoints, but far as those back issues, it hasn't been consistent. DC was very consistent, then it wavered and waffled, and it's not so much. Now, with the independent publishers like Image, Dark Horse, IDW, Boom, they've always been consistent. In a month after, boom, it's going to drop. The price is going to drop $1, which is awesome. But because they're pricing with some of those books, most of those books, they're $2.99. That's the one thing I love about Image in particular is that, things like I'm a huge Walking Dead fan and I like Invincible as well. If I fall behind a month or two, it wasn't any big deal because I can go on Comixology, boom, it's $1.99 instead of the $2.99. I saved $1. And so, I'm essentially, that's an extra $1 I could put towards the next issue to get. And it's a value proposition for myself. So for that, I feel like that's awesome. And I think another thing in the pricing situation and, getting the responses when I put this question out here to people was that, and what everybody kind of echoed is that, the price gouging, because that's what it feels like, especially when they're double shipping the more popular titles with the raised cover prices, is that it wouldn't sting or hurt so bad to the wallet if the quality remained super high on all these books. And that's not always the case. They might put a big creative team on a book to launch it and sell a whole bunch of issues, maybe the first story arc, but then, for some reason they have to leave the book and then they don't put the same level creative team back on the book. And so then you're still paying this premium amount and the visuals and the story you're getting is nearly up to snuff with the amounts you're paying. So I feel like it is some discrepancy in, price over the quality you're getting. And that needs to be more consistent. And that's mainly with the big two, because so many of especially Marvel, they had that mass exodus of creators leave to go to Image and Valiant and different places to do creator-owned content because they own those properties. And with comic book movies being so huge and TV shows, they can create these works that they own and control. Everybody wants to be the next Robert Kirkman or Mike Millar or Miller or Millar, however you want to pronounce it, where they've had huge success on TV in Hollywood with their properties being, produced to, motion pictures. And The Walking Dead is one of the biggest TV shows on TV right now across the board, not just comic book related, but just across the board. So that's some of the thoughts or issues that were brought up when I threw out the question about pricing, and then it piggybacked into the quantity. And with the raised amount of price and titles being double shipped, with the increased pricing, the question that I posed was like, did that affect most people with the amount of comics they bought monthly? So after putting the question on Facebook, I was surprised to see that most, not surprised, but most people said that due to their loyalty to a particular character or group, the raised prices and the overabundance of titles that are connected to it did affect the amount of other titles they bought, because they felt committed, because they're, that's their favorite team. So with the Avengers books and all the different Avengers split-offs or spin-offs that they have, they felt like they had to get everything Avengers. So even though it might have been other books they wanted to try, they were committed to that. And because it was more of it and more product coming out per month, their first thought process was I got to buy everything Avengers, or I have to buy everything Spider-Man, or I have to buy everything Batman. So it did affect other titles that they would want to try. Now, some people did counteract that by saying, with using In Stock Trade's parent company, DCBS, which is Discount Comic Book service, where they get discounts, they can have a, monthly budget and then spread it around, and, because they're getting books at a good discount off, that they could still within their budget, but they weren't getting as much different stuff, because their first priority would be the book, the character or team that they were brand, loyal to first. But a counterpoint with that was made, because since it's so many different titles now, I think about, 10, 11 years ago when I started the show, maybe through Marvel and DC, you got maybe, 50 books or so a month total, probably put out across the board. So it was a lot easier to keep up with the comic book industry, with the brand-wide crossovers happening so frequently, with the movie industry, with comic book movies doing so well, Disney buying Marvel, Warner Brothers owning, DC, the amount of content that is published, monthly, at one point DC was putting out 52 books a month. Marvel was putting out something similar, if not more. Then a lot of creators have gone to Image, and Image has become more prominent. So there, it's really not so much the big two as much as it's the big three now, because I think Image is kind of, they're the little stepbrother on the end, but the quality is there because that's where all the big creators have gone for creator-owned content. So you can't ignore Image, and you kind of have to say the big three now. That's a lot of books, and Image puts out a fairly high amount of books. I don't know if it's like 50 books a month, but I say 30 or more at least. And there are different sub brands, like with Kirkman's Skybound underneath the Image umbrella. So it's a lot of books out there that just come out monthly. But through it, we get, quirkier titles. And, this was mentioned too, that though it's a pain that there's so many books out, and with some of the more popular books, they cost so much, but it kind of allows some of the publishers to take some risk, and we get really cool, quirky stuff. And this is some examples that were given, like the Immortal Iron Fist or Hawkeye would have never existed. Moon Knight, they've had some good runs on Moon Knight. The Vision series, Scarlet Witch, like some of those type things we would not have gotten if it wasn't for the money that the companies are making off those other main books, that they can kind of take some risk and throw out these smaller projects and throw them out against the wall and see what sticks or not. So some feel like if that's one good byproduct of it, but it's still overall, everyone did say this, that the consensus of the one conclusion was that they would prefer the quality of the book be and the integrity of the book be upheld with less quantity. But they all said, in that, hoping that they wouldn't lose the companies the major companies' willingness to experiment on these smaller kind of quirky pitches and titles that they've put out for books. in the process. So that's one thing they wouldn't want to see, but they would prefer, because again, it's so many books being put out. Not everything is top quality, and we've seen it. We've all seen it, being fans, reading particular books and stuff, that the quality in some of this stuff is just horrible. You know, and I have one example, and that was the recent Darth Maul series. I read the first issue, and the writing was just sloppy to me. The artwork, and I don't try to talk negative, because I love the comic book industry. The comic books have been a part of me my whole life, for my 41 years on this earth. But that won't, and it was like $4.99 for that issue. That artwork sucked. I'm just going to go ahead and call it for what I see. I can't even remember who the artist was on it, and it's no disrespect, but I don't know. It just seemed rushed, and it seemed like a cash grab, and it upset me a ton. Because I love Darth Maul, and I even said it here that I felt like if they did a Darth Maul series, I wanted to see my boy Kieran Gillian do it, because he did such a great job on the Darth Vader series, that I would love to see his take on Darth Maul, and have him and Salvador LaRocca do it, because they did a villain thing with Darth Vader that was so well in that 25 or 26 issue run they did, that I would love to see him do a little mini series and focus on another Star Wars villain, because he has a niche for writing such good villains, and but it didn't pass. And I was like, I still gave it a try, but man, I was so disappointed and so upset that it was $4.99 for that issue, and what I read was not worth $4.99. That issue should have been 99 cents, to be honest. Should have gave it away, to be honest. I'm just saying. But back to put my positive hat back on. Next thing is physical over digital. Now, this was the most shocking topic that I threw out. Because you look at it from a perspective of yourself and what you do, but I just thought, because you hear, and I've read different articles about the increase of digital sales, blah blah blah. But I was surprised to find out, for most people, they still, when I put it out there on Twitter, I posted this question a couple of times because I wanted to get as many responses for it as possible. I threw it out on Twitter. I threw it out on Facebook a few times. And what I got back really surprised me. Though you got, digital comics are becoming more and more in prominence now. We have, a company like Amazon that makes a device like the Kindle, and you can have the Kindle app anywhere. You can have it on your phone, your iPad. You can own an actual Kindle. A couple of years ago, I think it's been about 2 years ago now, Amazon bought Comixology. So now they have it incorporated into their digital book program and all that kind of stuff. So you can get comics and read them anywhere now. Comixology is a monster out there when it comes to digital comics. So, and then you have the Marvel Unlimited service that's been around for years now, that you can sign up for. I think it's $9.99 a month. You get the whole, huge back catalog of Marvel comics, and you can read them on all your different devices. You can read them on your phone, iPad, off your computer or whatever. And I recently tried Marvel Unlimited. When Iron Fist came out, they did a promotion with the Iron Fist show when it launched to sign up for it and get a free month. I tried it for a month. I didn't love it. I've been using Comixology, for as long as I can remember. I have been using Comixology and found out about Comixology when I got the very first iPad. When the very first iPad came out, that's when I learned about the app of Comixology and the site and everything like that. And that was, I don't know how many years ago. It was like 7-8 years ago. So I've been using Comixology in some form or fashion before I completely transferred over to it. I've been using Comixology for roughly about 7 to 8 years now. Now Comixology has their own unlimited service where you pay about some $5.99 or $6 a month, about $6.50 depending on what state you're in with tax a month, for unlimited comics. It's not the major. Well, it wasn't. Let me preface this. It wasn't with the major publishers, DC, is not a part of it. They just, I think about 2-3 weeks ago now, did a partnership with Marvel. So now when you do the Comixology Unlimited, you get Marvel as well as it. And it's only, like I said, it's base price is like $6. I think when I got billed for it with tax, where I'm at is, you might say like it's $6.50, which isn't bad because it's cheaper than what Marvel's service is. Now you don't have the same back library, but I've been noticing in the 3 weeks they're adding more and more and more books to it. So it's cheaper, and then you get all the independent stuff primarily. So you get a lot of Image, Dark Horse, Boom, all those other independent studios jumped on board with this when Comixology launched their unlimited service like a year ago. So they're there. They have big back catalogs. Marvel's joined up. I'm hoping that they can get DC on board with this soon because they don't have a subscription service that I know anything about, a digital subscription service. So it would be just cool if they jumped on board. And I mean, if they jumped on board and had a big enough back catalog to support when they joined on, even if it went up to $9 a month, I would pay it. I did the Comixology Unlimited. That's how I read that Darth Maul comic, and I was shocked because I was like, if I actually had paid $4.99 for that comic, the first thought that I said, if I ever saw whoever was responsible for that book, I would punch him in the face because if that you were ripping people off for $4.99 for that book, so I would punch him in the face. I know that's a very mean thing to say, but it was how I felt in my heart. That was my reaction after I read that comic book, and I was like, you was charging $4.99 for that comic. Whoever did it, I'm going to punch him in the face. If I saw him, I'd punch him in the face. I wouldn't really do it, but it's what I feel in my heart as a comic book fan. Or back what they used to say in the Monster Squad, that's the 80s movie. I know I'm dating myself and I'm old, but the boy kicked Wolfman in the nards and he kicked them in the ding-ding. I would kick somebody in the ding-ding because that was a ripoff. That's just how I feel. But if they, like I was saying, that was a sidetrack, but it was just how I felt. That was how I was able to read that comic book. So that one issue, I feel like it's a good value if you're even, or if you want to try out digital comics. You know, they do a 1 month free trial, and I had done that before. So when I signed up this time, I was billed for it. And there's a lot being offered, a lot that you can go back and read. It's not all the current books, but it's a ton of back issues. So if you want to try a series out and like Image and, like I said, the independent, companies they've been on board with Comixology from the beginning. So, and they add new books each month. So that's the awesome thing about it too, is the back catalog is only going to get bigger and bigger. I guess as a part of launching the initiative, Marvel has done this cool thing where it's some more current books that they're throwing in the mix. Because like that Darth Maul, the first issue, that was one. They did the new Miss Marvel, like the first trade, things like that. So they've done some really, really cool stuff to make it even more enticing. I feel like it's a good deal. It allows me to kind of read a little bit more because, I can't afford $4.99 an issue at a pop too much. I don't have as much free money. So this is a cool alternative to give me access to different stuff that I want to read that I don't have to pay out of pocket or wait till they do a 99-cent sale and load up on issues. It gives me, it's actually just a value thing for me. So definitely if you want to check those out. Now with the Comixology thing, I don't know how many books you can borrow. So many books at a time, read them, you just return them, borrow some more. I don't know what the borrow limit is on how many books you can kind of air quote check out at a time. I think right now I have like 2 books checked out, but yeah, again, you borrow it, read it, return it, boom, you can get another one. So, but you can do multiple. I've done up to 2. I don't know if they cap it at any certain amount within the service. But again, it's really cool. It's a cool alternative. But I was surprised when I posed the question that still a lot of people are still in favor over physical comics over digital. Like I said, that's a personal preference thing. For me, it just became physical comics start becoming an inconvenience. I've had posted on my Instagram, and I think even on the Comic Book Savant page, what my comic book room used to look like. And, I had, 3, 4? It was like 3. It was 3. I had 3 bookshelves full of trades, omnibuses and all that kind of stuff. I had like 10 or so more long boxes. Then I had another shelf that had this loose comics that when I was had the eBay store running, that I had literally like a whole tall bookshelf full of loose comics that were bagged and boarded up on a shelf that that was inventory that I was selling, and I still had that many comics. So I had a closet full of comics in my room, had multiple bookcases surrounded with comics, and I was simply running out of room. So for me, I had to pick one thing or another. I just was like, I'll go digital. I'm not a collector anymore. I'm just a fan of comics. As long as I read them and I could access them, that was more important than having the physical comic, and to me. But a lot of people don't feel that way. They're still collectors. I'm a reader and fan, but not a collector, a lover of the physical medium. Like, it was for me, it was funny because I was the one, and I've done episodes of the show where I was like, digital sucks. And I when I tried it, I transitioned way easier than I thought I ever would to digital. But when I posed the question, like I said, I was literally shocked that, like by a landslide, more people were still into physical over digital. And, they do things. There's a lot of things out there now. When you buy the physical copy, they'll give you codes for digital. And I know a lot of people's like, I don't ever even use the codes, or I give them to a friend, and I got to have that floppy in my hand. And I thought that same way, and I was heavy into hardcovers and trades and things like that, and I didn't miss it. I didn't miss it at all, surprisingly. I love the convenience over digital, but still right now, the consensus is physical still rules, which is, like I said, which was a shock, because how you've seen the growth in the digital space with the different companies and offerings, that I thought it would have been more, but it really wasn't. Next topic is movies. I think movies, I love the growth of the mainstream acceptance of comics due to the success of the comic book movie, especially because we wouldn't have what we're going to talk about later with television and video games. We're going to touch on those as well. But I feel like the success and the acceptance in pop culture we have right now, we owe it to the movies. Now, with that is one caveat or drawback. I really think now, when this all started, it was the history of the great story that were told in the past from people that love comics. They wrote wonderful stories that could be easily adapted to the big screen, and embracing what that is and being able to adapt it right by other people that love comics. So to me, the stories, the historic stories and storytelling was the driving force in getting those movies made, and made well, where they could get accepted. Now I kind of feel like that has shifted, and the movie industry, the movie side of these comic book movies, because they make so much money and have made these companies so much money, that they're driving the stories that are being told in the comics. So you can go out to a movie, see a character, and then you can go out to a comic shop and pick up something that aligns to it. So I feel like it's dictating it, and it's not allowing to tell the best. It's handcuffing creators to not tell the stories necessarily they want to tell, because they have to incorporate a particular character or write a certain character or team because that's the next movie, or they want to test the concept before they put a movie in production. And I feel like it's a lot of that going on, even with television as well. And I'll give an example of that when I get to the television portion. And we've seen companies, especially Marvel, which I don't fanboy of one more so than the other. I just love comics in general, and that's where I come from with this. We've seen Marvel, due to them not owning particular movie rights, them handle certain teams or characters differently. We've seen it with X-Men. We've seen it with Fantastic Four. When, Fox has the rights to, to X-Men and, is it Sony? No, I think Fox owns the rights to Fantastic Four and X-Men. And we've seen how, because they didn't own the rights to X-Men, they couldn't use mutants. So in the comics and even on TV, they made, the Inhumans kind of the replacement for mutants, since they didn't own the rights to use mutant in movies. So we've seen that for a while. Now they're trying to change that now, but for a while they let it very much dictate the X-Men franchise in the comic books, which had been one of their backbone franchises for years, that it got kind of pushed down in light of elevating things like the Inhumans and the Avengers, because that was the movies that they were seeing and they were pushing. So over the years, Avengers, that they've been popular, but by no means in the past 20 years as popular as the X-Men had been. And then their publishing focus shifted away from X-Men and more to Avengers and Inhumans. We've seen that affected. We've seen them, they stop out publishing the Fantastic Four. How can you ever stop publishing the Fantastic Four? They're the first superhero team that Marvel ever created. They're the first family. It used to have it on the cover of the book. For God's sake, how do you ever stop publishing the Fantastic Four title? I don't understand that, but they did. It's no Fantastic Four. They're slowly bringing them. I know I read something, it was a spoiler or something I read, and one of the new storylines, they reincorporated Reed Richards and brought him back. And I'm like, but they're the first family. It was never, ever should have been one issue of any book published off of Marvel that it wasn't a Fantastic Four in that universe. It just doesn't work like that. But they did it, and the consensus was, and to everyone else around, was because they didn't own the rights to the Fantastic Four, the movie rights, because of the licensing deals they did back, back when they were bankrupt, that they're still dealing with now. That they diminished the importance of those other characters based to the fact that they didn't own the movie rights for those said franchises. So it'll be interesting to see with Secret Empire and then the Legacy big events coming up. Will they start reincorporating these, elevating the importance back of the X-Men and the Fantastic Four in the Marvel Universe? Especially that's where you see it being most noticeable with them specifically. DC is a little bit different because Warner Brothers own DC. They own all their rights in-house. They can do whatever they want with their stuff. So that's the difference between Marvel and DC in that fact. Now to television. Now to piggyback off what I was saying of right now, the visual media as far as television, games, and movies, the proof of concept theory. And it's more so than a theory, because it was an interview, I want to say I read on IGN.com, that they did with Greg Berlanti last summer leading up to Suicide Squad, or maybe after Suicide Squad came out, where he explained, because if you were watching, I can't remember what seasons of Arrow, because they're all becoming a blur to me right now, that, they had Amanda Waller on there. They had the Suicide Squad on there, and their version for the CW universe, and it was very successful. They even did a tease of Harley Quinn being a part of the Suicide Squad, which we had in current continuity in the comics at the time. And they did the Escape from Arkham animated movie, Batman Escape the Arkham, where they had the Suicide Squad with Harley Quinn and all that in it, and it was decent. It was a decent animated movie. Search the site, find the episode. I did an episode reviewing it. It was a good movie. based off the popularity of the show and off that animated movie, is one of the driving forces behind DC going forward with putting the Suicide Squad movie into production. And Greg Berlanti talked about how, he had future plans on doing that, and they were actually going to, you were going to see Harley Quinn on Arrow. That was the show. And like one of the last episodes, they had the Suicide Squad on. They were like, "What about this chick?" And you saw the white hair, and you heard the laugh, and she was like banging her head up against her cell. They pretty much teased Harley Quinn. You never got a chance to see her, of course. They even, spoiler, if you don't watch Arrow, even though this was a couple of seasons ago, they end up killing off Amanda Waller, which totally blew me away. Took a bullet to the head, dead. Because I love the actress that played her. I can't remember what her name is off the top of my head, but she was amazing as Amanda Waller. And they killed her off. I would have loved to see her in the movie as a younger, thinner, but she did a really good job encompassing the Amanda Waller character that we've gotten to know from the animated series and in the comics as well. I thought she did a really great job, but they nixed it, and he talked about how they were pretty much told that like they had to ditch it. You can't use the Suicide Squad anymore. We're doing this movie. So he said in so many words, he felt like they were allowed usage of the characters just to prove that the concept or the ideal of the Suicide Squad could work after they saw it work on the show. So you do have to be, mindful of that. But I feel like when it comes to television, I feel like in some ways it's been a little bit more successful than movies because, you can have smaller budgets. You can experiment a little bit. The CW network has been, especially successful with their, Arrowverse of shows. We have, Arrow, Flash, Legends of Tomorrow, Supergirl. They've greenlit Black Lightning. I don't know how closely it might be tied. It is a Greg Berlanti show. It's in that family. I don't know if it's going to be tied directly to the Arrowverse, or is it going to be kind of like Supergirl where she's on a different Earth, or what? How that's going to play in, or how closely, or if it's going to be tied into the rest of the Berlanti-verse or not. It'll be interesting. We've just seen a teaser or a teaser trailer for Black Lightning. I think it hit sometime last week. So that's the thing. And so they've been hugely successful with a lot of the DC properties. We have AMC. They're doing an excellent job with The Walking Dead, which is an Image book, and then Preacher, which is a DC Vertigo title. We've seen Netflix have huge success with the Marvel shows. We've had Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, Defenders is launching in August. We don't know. I think we're going to get the Punisher series before year's end as well. And then we know it's another season of Jessica Jones. Well, I think everything's been renewed except for Iron Fist. So we'll see a third Daredevil season, a second Jessica Jones season, a second Luke Cage. We don't know. As far as the Defenders, we don't know. I guess we'll have some idea maybe going forward if they're going to do a second season. And we haven't heard anything officially renewed that Iron Fist was renewed for a second season on Netflix. But those shows have been hugely successful. I think ABC has had the most marginal results with their experiment with comics television. I know CBS tried with Supergirl. It had a big struggle over on CBS, which never made sense why, if it was a Greg Berlanti show, why CW didn't pick it up. It went to CBS, kind of struggled through the first season, just to come back to CW in the end this past year, and has done gangbusters since. They should have just had it there to begin with. Then we've seen ABC experiment. Like I said, we've had Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which has had a rocky ride. I was worried about it was being canceled. They announced last week that they renewed it for a fifth season, but it's not going to come on in mid-season because they're launching Inhumans in the fall. So that'll come on in September, and I think it's only 8 episodes, and then they'll pick it. Then Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. will be a mid-season replacement. So when that finishes up, then they'll launch into season 5 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I felt like they grossly undersupported Peggy Carter. I love the show. I love Haley Atwell. I've spoke about the show ad nauseum. I hope eventually they bring it back. I don't want to see it on ABC. I'm like, if you do it, just do it on Netflix, because it's one of those shows where you're gonna just binge watch. It's only 8 episodes anyway, but it was a fun show with something different. They had an awesome lead, and it just didn't ever seem to get traction at ABC. They really didn't support it, and it was a good show. And she said numerous times that she would love to. She's still committed to going back and would do more if they ever decide they want to do it through Netflix or somewhere else. I hope. I still have hope, because she went off and she did another show, ABC show, that I don't even think lasted like 6 episodes. So she's free. They try to do something more modern. She just fits that time frame. And it worked so well. If anyone that ever watched Agent Carter, I thought it was a darn good show. So I've been amazed, and a lot of people echoed this when I put the question out there, that they're amazed at the quality in the variety of shows that have came out. And this is just live action. We've had, more and more stuff with animation, Disney XD, and on the Marvel shows like the Ultimate Spider-Man shows. We have stuff like the Rebels, and it's rumors that it's going to be after Rebels finishes this upcoming season 4, that it's going to be another animated show coming out from Lucasfilms and Disney. So it's so much stuff out there, and it's so good quality that though you're not going to get the visuals that you're going to get on par with the major motion pictures, but they've done some amazing work with the smaller budgets in the weekly format. Now, the one thing I could say though is that a lot of people also express fatigue with the 22 episode format. Now, I like what ABC or Marvel did with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., where it was like 3 separate story arcs, kind of like 3 trades so the season was broken up with 3 storylines, and it was a beginning, middle, and end to the first one. Then it bled over to the second. It was a beginning, middle, and the end, and then now this last one, which was the season finale, was last week, and it worked, and it broke up the monotony. It was still a couple of slow episodes in there, but it was cool that they told 3 different stories in the course of that season that broke up you trying to just tell one major storyline throughout. They tied in and interconnected with one another, but they were smaller stories within a bigger whole, which worked instead of telling one major story arc and dragging it out for 22 episodes. And CW I feel like it's kind of suffering with that format because they're sticking to that. And I feel like I liked where Legends of Tomorrow it's only 16 episodes, not 22. And maybe they should narrow it down to maybe 16, so it's not so many dead episodes throughout the season and so many breaks and all that other kind of stuff, and they could tell tighter stories. I would like that. Will we actually get that? I don't think anytime soon, because it's just the format of the networks now that they're major networks are in love with. But you've seen things like Netflix where the Netflix shows were 13 episodes, but I think they're even reducing it down with Defenders for the Netflix shows, that Defenders is only 6 or 8 episodes or something like that. Because some people felt like the 13 episodes felt like it was stretching it too long. So they're trimming it down for that. And I hope maybe they'll do that going forward with some of the other shows like Punisher, so they don't, because sometimes you can feel like, oh, they could have had these last 2 episodes, they could have cut it to like maybe 10 or whatever. So I hope they do it to tell the tightest story as possible without the bloat, because when you start getting the bloat in there, it starts making you disinterested in the story. So I hope in the future that they learn to maybe reduce it down, and then it leaves room to do even more shows, because before one is lingering around, it gets told the story, get out of the way, that now you can have more television shows because they've been successful. They're proven to be very successful. So hopefully we'll get that. Now on the video game front, I feel like this has probably been the weakest area of the comics industry is improving now, slowly but surely. Again, Marvel, when they in the 90s, when they went through bankruptcy, they licensed everything to get money to keep the company afloat. Since this came back under the reign of Disney, they've recollected a lot of those licenses. They try to do their own thing for a little while with the Disney Infinity, and they had the Marvel, the Star Wars, all that incorporated in it, Toys to Life stuff, game thing. That cost them too much money. They closed it down, so they're not going to self-publish games anymore, but they're going to partner with the right people, and they've been doing that. We've had successes recently. We had the Batman Arkham series for DC with the company Rocksteady, that they did that trilogy that recently ended. We've had Injustice with DC with NetherRealm Studios, which we know them from Mortal Kombat. We had Injustice Gods Among Us, and just last week we had Injustice 2 drop. We've had with Image, we've had the Walking Dead Telltale series. Telltale has been doing some awesome stuff. So they've done with adventure games, like kind of choose your adventure games. They've had The Walking Dead, which they're on season 3 now. They've done a mini series with Michonne for The Walking Dead. So they've done quite a bit with The Walking Dead. That's, the first Walking Dead, the first season was like a Game of the Year contender and won some Game of the Year awards. Then they did with DC, with Vertigo, Wolf Among Us, which is one of my favorite Telltale adventure games, is the Wolf Among Us. Then they've done their own version of Batman. They did the first season of that. So things are definitely progressing. They've released the first episode. Telltale did the first episode of their Marvel's partnership. They're doing a Guardians of the Galaxy, and it's been well received. Like I said, Injustice 2 was recently released just last week. It was announced a couple of months ago. Marvel and Square Enix, which we know Square Enix from games like Final Fantasy, they're doing a huge game that's related to the Marvel comic book universe that's going to be coming out in a few years. But they announced it a few months back that they're doing it's going to be a huge IP that they're doing, original IP. So, E3, the gaming show, is coming up in a couple of weeks. So we might actually see some more on that at that time, hopefully, to see where that's going. But it's looking up. Marvel pulled back from self-publishing because it was too much an investment, but they're picking good partners now with Telltale, which has a proven track record, with Square Enix that has a proven track record to partner with quality people to get the video game thing on track. And if you've tried any of these, especially the Telltale games, they're episodic, smaller games. Like $5 an episode. It's normally like 5 episodes. So like for under $30, you can get a really good where your decisions carry over from episode to episode. And if they do multiple seasons, like with The Walking Dead, your choices carry over from season to season, as it tells an ongoing narrative, which is really, really, really cool. It has a cool graphics engine. And another thing I like about the Telltale games, it's available on every platform. You can play it on your console, you can play it on your iPad, your phone, your computer. It's like nowhere you can't play it. So I really like that too. So you can always try those games out. I highly recommend them as well. So again, we're seeing it. It was plagued back in the day that they would do like movie tie-in games that would come out right around the launch of a movie, and it would be crap, and it was just more like a quick cash grab. But now they're putting some more substance and care behind it and want to really build it up to be something. They've seen it work on television, they've seen it work in movies, major motion pictures. So they're finally taking that same mentality into the video game industry and really going to build it up to be something good. So it's looking up when it comes to certain areas. In the future, one of the things people said is that they feel like that with the huge growth in the comic book industry, and it's being accepted more and more. You're bringing younger kids into it. Like I said, I noticed it more when seeing how the promotion was going for Guardians of the Galaxy 2, and even going to the movie theater and seeing the movie. It was a lot of families. It was a lot of young kids. Everybody wanted to see Baby Groot. That they're doing their job in one aspect of drawing new people into the comics industry, at least to the movies. I don't know how it's translating in the sales of books so much, but at least in its mainstream wide appeal, it is getting more eyes than it ever has probably at any point in my lifetime. But in that, a lot of us feel that us, the core fan base that helped the comic industry get to this point where you can do this stuff, is being forgotten, and we're getting, abused by all the high prices, the double shipping of books, because they know we're going to be there to do it. That keeps allowing them to get away with doing these things, and I hope that they quit alienating us so much and kind of bring things back some, especially with the pricing and the quality of the books, that they rein that in a little bit more, so we're getting more bang for our buck, and the quality is not so hit and miss, because you can get one book and then it's all one issue and it's awesome, then the main creative team had to take a break for a series, and then they just got some fill-in people and the quality drops, but you didn't drop the price with that quality of the book. So I hope they refocus their vision and not alienate the core fan base so much, and bring that back in the line. And that was what a lot of people were thinking along those lines. And they need to take care of us. We've taken care of them, and if this ever crashes, we'll still be the ones that'll be there for them to pick them up on the tail end and brush them off. Marvel was on the verge of bankruptcy. We kept them afloat. They never went They were bankrupt, but they never had to they sold eventually, but someone that cared about it and, has treated the company well and instead, but it didn't go away, so we were always still there supporting that company. So we want to see, that love being thrown back some, I think a little bit more. We all kind of agreed on that across the board, that we would like to see prices, stabilize some. Because they just keep going up and up and up, and we are finding less books that are of equal quality to the pricing that you're asking for. So at least if you're going to offer, these things that the prices, that the quality is on par with the money I'm spending out for it, and that's not always been the case. So those are some things that might help the industry not alienate the people that have been there for them the longest. But that's all I have for this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed this comics discussion. I hope to do more. Again, if you check out the Facebook page, facebook.com/comic book savant, you can check it out. Tell me if you liked it. Tell me if you want to see more comics discussions. If so, what topic? And then, like I said, I'll build it up like I do this by posting stuff on the Facebook page, on social media, to get you guys responses, and take the responses, incorporate them into the show as well. Check out the website, comicbooksavant.com. It's an awesome site. You can get all the back episodes there. Twitter, Instagram, Comic Book Savant. Also, please check out youtube.com/Comic Book Savant. Give it a subscribe, watch episodes, share them, subscribe, giving them thumbs up, all that good stuff. Again, doing big things. If you want to support the show, check out the Patreon, patreon.com/Comic Book Savant. The links are on the website as well. You can go it's up at the top. You'll see the Patreon link. It'll take you right to the page as well. Again, word of mouth. If you can't do anything financially, I can understand that. Just keep spreading the word, share the content, help me, just get it out there. That always goes a long way as well. Again, that's all I have for you guys this week. Be on the lookout for another YouTube video coming this week as well. Like I said, it will probably be around Wednesday, no later than Thursday, when that video will drop. And I'll see you guys next week for another episode of Comic Book Savant. You guys take care.
And into lyrical wholeness. And I know this, This I know, this I know.